if you can be the facilitator for them to believe in themselves, then that's when sales becomes fun, but also it's a process where it serves them to the highest level.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Everything is Influence podcast, where on each episode, we go back through the 4 pillars of influence, the 4 levels of influence. Really, level 1, what controls influence over ourselves, our own integrity, our values. How do we see the process of influence and how we manage our own lives? How do we take what's inside of us, the certainty, the conviction, our purpose, our values, and spread that to another person, which is level 2 influence. Then level 3 influence, how do we spread that to groups? And finally, level 4, where we replace ourselves through people and process by instilling our influence into the people around us, where we can really have influence at scale, or what we call legendary influence. And really excited to talk to you today with a good friend of mine, Richmond, who has become a legend in his own right. I saw this guy just on social media one day, and I was like, who is this guy? And I knew he was a Tony fan like me, and actually got him to give me a testimonial, and he helped me sell from across the pond. He helped me sell business mastery for Tony through his testimonial while I was doing a business mastery in Moscow, of all places. So absolutely amazing to see what he's done in the coaching world. And this guy is just a light. You are prepared. You just prepare yourself for some fire today. So without any further ado, Mr. Richmond, how are you, sir?
I'm great. I appreciate you, Eli. And geez, this is very humbling to be on your podcast today.
It's going to be fun, man. We're going to dig into it. So the way we usually do it is we kind of reverse engineer, what you're up to today, all the way back to, how did you become this person? So let's start off for the listeners. What are you up to in the world? Like, what do you do? What does your business look like? How do you see the process of influence? Like, who are you and what do you do in the world?
Love this question. So we help startup coaches transition out of their current job into full-time coaching. And so anyone who wants to, whether they're in the professional career, corporate career, or in personal development space, and they just want to create a full-time coaching income and do what they love full-time, that's what we do. From an influence point of view and from a marketing point of view, we've adopted what we call results in advance marketing, meaning that the best way to build trust is to give someone a result first and then ask for the sale after. And that's what's helped us grow our business to where it is today, which has been a massive success, particularly in the last couple of years since we've been doing that.
Wow. Yeah. As we were talking before this, I've hopped into some of the free content that you've put out there and gotten some results and loved it. And so that's amazing. Were you always doing it that way, or is this a new thing the last couple of years?
We've always delivered value. Like most entrepreneurs or most people in the online space would deliver some sort of content or free video or anything like that. But we've taken it one step further by giving away a challenge, like by doing challenges. And I know a lot of people are doing challenges these days, but it's actually, our challenge is actually a piece of our actual core program. So it's not so much, a little bit drip feeding here and keeping open loops and, keeping hanging to the end, but it's actually a real sample of what it's like to work with us. And so they get a taster.
Which part? So with a coaching business, there's of course, attraction, conversion, delivery, scale. There's these pillars. What part, or is it mindset? What piece do you typically take people through?
Yeah, attraction mostly, because that's what most people want. Like they just want to get more leads. And we do touch a bit on sales, but mostly attraction and that.
Everybody needs more leads.
Everybody needs more leads.
Yeah. And what I love about your process, I mean, there's so many other people out there that are, coaching coaches on how to coach coaches and, all that stuff. But you actually have, because we both have the Tony Robbins background and you have an NLP background where you're really helping people. So it drives me crazy personally when I see a lot of these people go through coaching programs and they have scripts or even marketing scripts or whatever, and they're saying the things, but they don't know why they're saying what they're saying. So they're disassociated from their own words and they wonder why it doesn't land. So it kind of walk us through what is unique about your process for people.
I totally agree. And that's the problem. And that's why, there's a bit of a stigma to this space, because most people can be great at marketing or sales to some degree, but without being a great coach or understanding exactly what you're doing, then the client doesn't get served and you don't produce results. And then the client ends up saying, I spent this amount of money into this other person and I didn't win. That kind of situation there because that coach just wasn't really that good. And so our biggest point of difference. And where we feel the gap is we actually include NLP trainings into our program. And so we certify coaches, but more importantly, we're getting the skill set to understand exactly how to communicate, how to influence, how to actually become an effective coach. Because if you want to be this, like a successful coach in the long term, 5, 10, 20, 30 years, then you actually got to be good at what you do. You can't just be good at marketing because you get found out very quickly.
No. Yeah. There's a lot of great coaches that can't market and a lot of great marketers that shouldn't be coaching. Now it's great, to make sure that once people are on board, they're getting all the tools that they need. Were you always a coach?
No. 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I was an optometrist for 10 years as an optometrist. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Did the
I
whole
see that. I see what you mean. I see.
Totally introverted, nerdy, studied hard. I got ducks in high school. I won one of the highest optometry awards you could get in university. I was a very successful optometrist. And when I left that to do coaching, most of my peers were like, this is like the biggest waste to the optometry industry. Like we're losing like a really good optometrist here. It just wasn't me though. It wasn't my passion. And I just had to get out.
Yeah. And I guess what made you switch?
It's a funny story. You know how people change when they turn a decade, like turn 30, 40, 50, or something happens like that.
Yep.
So in optometry, you gotta sign an APRA form every year, which is a health professional board to register. And you got to do a survey. You got to make sure that there's no felony. You don't have any convictions. You're all good, like as a human being, and you pass all the point requirements. And every year that survey, they ask you a question: how much longer do you want to be an optometrist for? And I always knew I was going to do this for a long time because I just wanted to please my parents, make good income, invest, and then find out what my real passion was. And every year I would tick the box. There was like a 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10 years plus. And I would always tick the 3 to 5 year box. And I tick that box for 10 years. And the 10th year I ticked that box, the 3 to 5 years, was when I felt like I cannot do this for another year. And I just needed to build the courage to pursue what I was passionate about, which is personal development.
Oh, so you decided that you're making a switch, but you didn't have a job. There's not coach, we're hiring coaches. What was that transition like for you personally?
Tony Robbins changed everything. And through Tony Robbins, I met Scott Harris and then became one of his clients. And then that's how it all started. And the truth is I only joined. At first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a coach, but I knew that I wanted to learn the skill sets to coaching because I wanted to become a better father. Like that was the main thing for me. And then it just snowballed into this career to where we are right now.
Wow. Yeah. So you started, so for people listening that want to get into coaching, want to get their first clients, have, proof, because it's one thing to want to help people. You got to market, you got to sell, you got to deliver all of that. Like what was the initial process like? You joined Scott's program or you went to a Tony event? And, what was that like?
Yeah, totally. So I did a ton of Tony courses, went to Scott's program, but what really launched it for me was actually what I learned from, I believe I saw Jay Abraham speak at one of these events. And he said like for particularly startup coaches or startup business, it's really important to get your name out there by doing pro bono in exchange for a review and a referral. And that's how you launch a business. That's how I did it. My first 10 clients were all pro bono, but I got 10 great reviews out of that. And then also 10 great referrals out of that. That was the condition for working them for free. And then that just snowballed into the business to where we are today. And that is what got my name incredibly out there. So I know a lot of people say, don't do pro bono, don't do it for free, but you actually not. You're exchanging that for something more valuable, which is reviews and referrals, which build momentum for your business, because most people will take a long time to get that. And they're trying to charge straight up front. It could take 1 year to 2 years to get their first 10 reviews.
And so, yeah, that's amazing. Starting off doing this free content. And then from there, so what is your business look like today? Like, understand what you do for people. Is it just you? You have a team? What does it look like?
Yeah, we got a nice team of 7 right now. Right now, we do $3 million a year. We've got a nice team of 7. And just really proud of the team, They're all on board with the mission. They're all on board with the culture that we have. and they all want what's best for the business.
Amazing. Amazing. So you obviously Australian guy. Yeah. You live in, where do you live?
Sydney.
Sydney. Okay. And grew up there. Parents are there, all of that. How old are you, by the way?
39. Too hard to tell with Asians. It's too hard to tell.
Yeah. You look young, man. You look like you're 25. Good for you, man. That's cool.
You don't look your age too, Eli.
It's coming. It's coming. So that's cool. So you grew up there, and your family wanted you to be an optometrist. Was your dad doctor or something like that?
No. My parents came in from the war. They had nothing. When you speak about Spiral, they were very going out from red into blue. And so they came from the war. They didn't have an education back then.
Explain that red to blue. What is that? Explain that for people.
Yeah. So when it comes to... Yeah, totally. I know we can geek out on Spiral all day long. Yeah. So my business partner is the NLP trainer, so I'll do my best to explain it. And I know if he watches this, he's like, oh my God, Rich is not explaining it right. So when it comes to like the evolution of human consciousness, we must go through these levels and levels of consciousness. And I believe we start off with purple, correct me if I'm wrong, purple or something on the bottom, but red is basically a level of consciousness where you value power, you value sort of authority, you value everything your way. Like that's kind of, where you will lie, cheat, and steal to get things. And it's always very self-centered. Everyone needs to go through that. Mm-hmm. But there comes a point in time where you realize that behavior or that value only gets you so far in life, and you have a dip in your life, and you have a moment where nothing's going your way, and you reach this new level of consciousness called blue, where now you have rules and systems and processes and structure and discipline. And that's why most people who go out of prison, moving from red, move into blue, which is like rigid society, or they find faith, or they find God, they find some sort of structure in their life. And that serves them to a point until you realize that only gets you so far, and then you transition to the next stage, which is orange, and then you move up the spiral. So life is about going through that journey and accepting where you're at. And so usually from third world countries, they're a very red cultured country. And then when they move over here, they get indoctrinated into a blue sort of society, which is more about Australia. America is more moving towards orange or orange white society.
When I do trainings on this, and for everybody, Claire Graves, I think got a Nobel Prize for this body of work, Spiral Dynamics, because people are here, so success-oriented, which is level 5, orange. And you see somebody go to a success seminar, even in a program, some people get it, some people don't. And so I kind of reverse engineer it. I say, you're here for success, but all success, even if somebody gets it temporarily, if it's not grounded in a solid 4, rules and discipline to support the success, you will lose the success. Like people make some money, they get some achievement, but they don't have disciplines and rules and standards, don't manage their finances, whatever. So they need a solid 4. I'm like, look, you're leaking energy here. And then some people might have the success, have the structure, but they're a pushover. They don't have any of that, this is mine. Like I'm fighting for something, like people take advantage of them and they lose it. And then some people, they have 5, focus on achievement, supporting systems. They're gung-ho. They're about getting it. They've got that, I call it the internal Donald Trump, this power God, like it's my way. And you need a bit of that fierceness, especially in business. And some people don't have a 2, which is your tribe, a supporting community. And so you see the way Tony sells from stage, he anchors to all of these, the best sales trainers do, and speakers and all that. And so typically for people that don't have a solid 2, they don't feel like they have a good support system. Well, you can sell them your support system, which is your platinum partnership or your community. And so most people don't have that, especially as they're going into something new. But for most people, your tribe is your family, and they have mommy, daddy issues, or something's off with their family. They always felt like an outcast. So they have a weak 2. And we need that because our 2, our tribe, is closely next to our 1, which is survival. And most people don't focus on survival unless they're homeless, where their focus, their energy, their intent is around surviving. But if somebody, even if they want to be successful, is not, and they got everything else, they might have experienced trauma where mentally they're not there because they had some physical, sexual trauma or something like that, where in their body, they're experiencing the hormonal cascade of cortisol and stress. And it's like a whirlwind of emotions that they've not controlled so their foundation's off. And so I say, look, to salespeople, I'm like, look, you want to be successful, but you're freaking out, you're mumbling, you're stuttering, you don't feel safe asking for money. And if you do F up, you don't feel like you're going to be supported by the team. You feel like you're going to be thrown out of the tribe again. And so we kind of, go through some of these processes, really powerful. And then of course, once somebody makes the money, there's level 6 where they don't focus on money anymore. They're societally conscious and they start doing yoga and caring about the environment and what's happening in Africa and things like that. So it's interesting to go through that. And we could rap about that all day. Because you've taken a lot of these models also and you've put them into your systems to help people, and your upbringing from your family, 3 and 4 driven, they had a limiter on their success, keeping them from success because that was their center of gravity where they always go back to. So that's interesting. How did you break out of that?
What a great question. How did I break out of blue, so to speak? I was in blue for a very long time. Went into the university degree, the schooling system, the optometry, everything's focused on discipline. What did it for me, actually, probably the biggest blessing, what did it for me was I lost a ton of money in the property market, like over $1 million. And that was about 7-8 years ago. And that spiraled into a journey of who am I and what am I about and what's life about. And that's when I discovered Tony Robbins. So it was the best thing ever. Otherwise I wouldn't have discovered him. I would have been sleepwalking through life. And so that was a catalyst for me to build some awareness of where I was at. And then when I was aware of all my behaviors and patterns, especially doing Date with Destiny, that was the first time I was exposed to Spiral. And then I did actual proper NLP courses to learn about that. When you're aware of where you're at and you can accept that, then that's when you can fully grow to the next level. And I knew that blue wasn't serving me, even though it served me to a point. But in order for me to get to that next level, I had to ascend it. I had done 10 years of discipline. I had done 10 years of all of that. And so I knew that only got me so far. And I wanted to become successful. I wanted to value success. I wanted to live in that world. And so that was the next stage there.
Yeah, we revisit that on these calls. And so with that, I mean, you look like a pretty healthy guy, discipline, you got a family, all of that. You've structured a business. So we all need to have that. What for you personally, like this level 1 influence, how you influence yourself, like the process of discipline, structure, what does that look like for you? So let me ask you just specifically, what's the first thing you do when you get up? What's your morning routine? What do you eat for breakfast? Like what's your kind of, how do you bookend your days?
I love this. Most of my clients fall off their chair when I tell them the first thing I do is unconventional. It's unconventional. I literally check my phone. Like I check my phone and it's like, and then it's so unconventional because, but then after that, I'll check it for about 10 minutes because I usually wake up and I'll go to the bathroom, do my thing. But after that, then I'll jump into the cold pool, like the cold plunge, do that, learn that from Tony. And after the cold plunge, then I would go and have some breakfast. And I've been having the same breakfast for the last 4 years because I don't like deciding every day on what to eat. It's a green juice. It's a raw vegan green juice, which I learned from Life Wealth Mastery. Like those raw green juices they gave us every day. I asked for the recipe and I've been making that every single day. The kids love it. And that's kind of how I start my day.
You're super healthy. What's in this green juice? What's the recipe?
It is raw almonds, pine nuts, flaxseed meal, linseed meal, some dates, frozen spinach and banana, and then coconut milk.
Delicious. That actually sounds pretty tasty. And do you have a cold plunge at your house?
Yeah. We got a pool. And in winter, it is cold.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I'm in Florida, so there's no cold pools here. So it's all pretty warm.
Yeah.
Hey, that's cool. And so, you had this discipline instilled in you, and you'll still use that. That's amazing because you've got a solid. I think most people need that foundation of discipline or structure or something they do consistently, because there's just our minds go crazy without some of that to fall back on. Otherwise, we're thinking about everything we're going to do. And so you've taken all that you are, and I'm sure running an optometry business helped you with the business side, like running the business of what you do now. When you had this optometry business, was it just you, army of one? Did you have a team? What was that like?
We had a team. We definitely had a team. And definitely having a business did build the foundation of creating this business because I understood numbers are really important in business, which most entrepreneurs or creatives or people who just visionaries, that the numbers are not their thing, but you just gotta know your numbers, and you know that in sales, like what is the conversion, what's all this, you gotta know those.
Mm-hmm. So you start this business and you had to do these sales calls. Initially it was pro bono, now it's not. What do you see when it comes to sales influence? There's a lot of negative connotation for it, for people charging what they're worth, charging big fees. If you were to define sales influence, like what does that mean to you personally?
Yeah. What I've learned through sales since starting this, or even in optometry, is it's a process of transformation for the client. And if you can be the facilitator for them to believe in themselves, then that's when sales becomes fun, but also it's a process where it serves them to the highest level. And almost always, provided they trust you, provided they see value in what you're offering, it always comes down to self-belief. And you may package that as, I don't think it's going to work for me, or I don't have the time or money. But our whole process when it comes to selling, whether it's on stage or one-on-one or in a challenge or anything like that, is how do we get them to believe in themselves so much that they're going to put themselves first and invest in themselves?
Yeah. And you've been really great at sales one-on-one on the phone, and you're great at sales at groups from stage. A lot of people struggle to sell from stage and on the phone. Why do you think people have difficulty enrolling high ticket clients on the phone or one-to-many? Like, and they are different. What do you think keeps people from doing either?
Yeah. They are very different. And I love selling on stage much more than I love selling one-on-one on the phone. Yeah, it's just that adrenaline rush you get. It's just so cool. So if I had to nail it down to one thing, it comes down to conviction. Conviction in your product, conviction in yourself, conviction in your ability to actually facilitate the transformation for them. And so I have my clients do a conviction exercise at our events, and also I get them to do it daily as one of the daily disciplines. Every single day, stand in your strength, stand in your power, and why is your program the best, or why are you the best coach for them? And then they need to incantate, believe that wholeheartedly, because once you have that conviction, then process becomes easy.
Yeah. I love, and I evolve a lot of Tony stuff. I said there's these, 3 levels of certainty, like uncertainty. And then there's like shooting fire cannons out of your butt certainty, like pounding on your chest, jumping up and down. And you gotta flex that muscle in private. And then the highest level of certainty is like resolve. Like, of course, like, can I tie my shoes? Yeah. Can I help you do this? Yeah. It's like, of course, it's obvious. And that puts people at ease. And on stage, you have a 5-day challenge. Yeah.
Yeah,
you do.
10
Is that
days. Yeah, we use 10 days now.
10-day challenge.
Yeah.
Why more days?
We figured that it used to be like most challenges are like 5 days, 5 calls over 5 days, which is great, and that's awesome. We figured that if we gave 10 days but the same amount of calls, then we give them an extra day in between to implement, and we found that conversions are higher the more they implement. So the downside of doing 10 days is the drop-off rate at day 10 compared to the drop-off rate at day 5. And so what we've done to solve that is create huge relevancy frames leading up to every single call to make sure that they stay all the way to call number 10.
What's the relevancy frame? How would you define that?
Yeah, it's a framework of, so we go, state the problem, state why it's a problem, state how to solve it, and state the opportunity of what that call is going to help them do. So for example, in our next call, the biggest problem you'll have is creating an offer that sells, an offer that you can sell with confidence. Why is this a problem? Because if you're a great coach and you have a bad offer, you'll never grow your coaching business. If you've got a good offer, but you're a bad coach, then you'll grow your coaching business. Most coaches have bad offers. So how are we going to fix that? The opportunity for our next call is to create an offer that you can sell with ease. Who's excited for the next call?
That's great. So it's these little hinges, these little language patterns that get people. I mean, that's huge. I'm going to go back over that. I love that. It's problem. The reason the problem's a problem. The solution. Yeah. So then future pacing them to what that looks like.
And then the opportunity. Yeah.
The opportunity. Yeah. That's brilliant. I love that. And so you do one of those seeds at the end of each.
And the end of each call. And then we'll put a post up in the Facebook group as well, saying how our next call is about this, using the same framework. problem, why is it a problem, the solution, and the opportunity to solve that on our next call.
I love that. Yeah, it's like you go to a lot of events, even when they're good, it's just a massive information dump. And they're like, hey, if you want help implementing this, but it's great, as you said, to provide results in advance. The whole thing, and I saw this as a tactical thing. We review people's challenges and, we look over process. Something that I've seen people do just from a tactical aspect is having an initial, so if they're in a Facebook group, having them like a client success person, like somebody texting them. So you can blast test, but a person like nurturing the leads in the DMs of Facebook or tagging them in stuff. It's like these touch points. And, I know Jay Abraham talks about it. A lot of people, it used to be like a certain amount of impressions, like 7, 8 impressions before somebody would buy. But now with all the market saturation and people's attention, that's less half that of a goldfish. It's like, we got to really consistently manage focus and keep a carrot and a stick in all of our conversation. Do this, heaven if you do, hell if you don't. And so I'll see you here. And this personal connection is some of the things that we're seeing. Text blast, DM blast, tagging, all of that, just more and more dings to remind people to keep their focus. So you've obviously systematized it really, really well. And then when do you make the offer on your challenge? Do you make it the last day? Do you push it to a call? Is it a direct offer?
It's a direct offer. So there's no call. It's a direct offer. Sell a 4K program off the back of that. So five calls, and we pitch on call number 3, and then we re-pitch on call number 4, and then call number 5 is book a call for those who haven't bought yet. But that's kind of how it works.
And it's just a direct pay link.
Yes, that's correct. So it's on Zoom, and they're like, who wants in? Me. And then because we've been talking about touch points, because throughout our challenge, we are very diligent on the touch points. And so we communicate via DM a lot, and to make sure that they feel that connection. And then they say me on Zoom, and then we'll send them the link via DM because we've had that relationship with them. And then they just sign up on the spot, maybe some objection handling as well, but the chat team goes in and does that.
Yeah, I love what you said. Part of the reason people don't buy or buy into an opportunity is because of lack of trust. And so we say there's like 3 pillars when speaking one to many. There's like, there's trusting you, your authority, trusting themselves, which I think a lot of people miss. It's like, hey, the reason you're not moving forward is because you don't believe in yourself. And no matter, how good of a coach you are at helping people, if you don't have buy-in on you. So like some reframing there, and then on the process. So it's, the product. And so that's key. And the consistent ask, the call to action. Most people, it's like when they do a presentation or there's a day when they're going to make an offer, it's almost like 2 presentations. Like there's this awesome content, and then they get weird and they ask people to do stuff. Yeah, it's like 2 presentations in one. There's like the sales pitch, and then like this beautiful content. And so, it like infusing throughout the content for challenges, what we kind of install too. And I know you do, it's about shifting their beliefs, belief in themselves. We need to reframe their belief around time versus money. Like one of the questions I often ask, I got from a mentor was, do you think $1 million is a lot of money? If you make $1 million, are you rich? And I said, well, it depends. If it takes 40 years to make $1 million, $25K a year poverty. But if you do it in 10 years, better, 5 years, 1 year. If you do it in 1 month, it's a lot better. So you're already making enough money. You're already doing everything perfect. You're just not doing everything fast enough. It's about cutting a check for speed. So getting to buy into that frame, everything you're doing is fine. You're just not doing things fast enough. And what's going to get you there faster is turning decades into days with the right system. Can you see why you need the right system? And without the right system, you're going to be poverty. And so it's like a lot of these reframing around time or money. It's these interesting little hinges that swing open big doors by opening up these, light bulb moments for people. And you've done it so well. As far as the coaching container, what do you think you do that allows people to have more success with your program? Because it's one thing to coach one-on-one, but you're selling one-on-one. And so you've got coaching at scale, a leverage coaching business, and leverage sales process, which so few people have. They can't leverage. They got like a call funnel, which isn't terrible, but it has its own challenges. But if you can sell at scale and coach at scale, you can really be the business owner, not operator. So what are some unique things that you think you do to produce such great success in your clients as far as process? Because you're not one-on-one coaching everybody, every day. How do you manage that container?
Yeah. I don't know if you want to call me blessed or lucky. Being an optom for 10 years and studying optometry for 5 years, so 15 years in the industry, everything is so process driven. It's literally, you can't do step 3 without doing step 1 and 2. And especially when you're testing eyes or diagnosing an eye condition or prescribing some sort of treatment, it is so regimented. And so being like that, I've basically been really good at unpacking this into a very systemized, structured way where you need to do step 1, step 2, and I've laid it all out. So clarity in process is really important. Be able to unpack this into a way, because some coaches, they're really good at what they do, but then can you teach it to someone else? Like the 4th level of influence, like can you teach someone else to do it as good as you or better? And so having super clear, detailed, structured process is important. And then I would say the other 3 things that I've realized too is patterns. So a bit of context. I know I'm Asian, but I'm actually really good at maths. Mm-hmm. And I won maths awards in high school and championships and all that. I was just a massive nerd. And so I'm good at picking out patterns on success, particularly in our niche. And I looked at our top performers and our bottom performers. I'm the same, process is the same, everything's the same, but why are these guys more successful? And now down to 3 things. Number 1, conviction. So they have the most conviction in their program, in their product, in their ability to serve. And the higher their conviction, the more successful they were. The second thing was they are competent as well. And so conviction and competency go hand in hand. You can be very convicted, but not really good. Or like you said, you can be really good, but no conviction. And so
you actually help people become better coaches, not just better marketing and sales.
Totally. Totally. And that's where the NLP comes in. So we do a lot of segments, monthly segments called Sharpen the Saw in our program, which is, hey, you've learned it, you've practiced it, let's sharpen the saw, whether it comes to sharpening the saw on speaking, sharpening the saw on coaching, sharpening the saw on limiting belief frameworks. So we do a ton of that. So we make sure that they're really, really good at what they do, because competency was one of the things that made a coach more successful, along with conviction. Third one is cause, living at cause. So there are 3 C's. And the more you live at cause, the more you take ownership, the more you take responsibility, then the more successful you are as well.
Yeah. Be at cause, not at the effect. Yeah. Responsibility. And as I love that, with managing any business or managing our lives, and you got family and kids, sometimes, and you're like, master coach and you understand all the NLP and all that. We all get stuck sometimes. What are some things, with all of your understanding, knowledge, tools, all that, and you're a happy guy, what are some things though that you do to get yourself unstuck? Like you're a product of the product. What are some tools that you use to keep yourself moving forward?
Yeah, I learned this from Tony Robbins. I credit so much of my stuff to him. I know you do too.
Yeah.
When Tony said he set himself like a 90-second rule, that 90-second rule to get out of a state. And it always comes down to your pattern of focus, your pattern of language, and your physiology. And so I set myself that same rule, not 90 seconds, but 5 minutes, where I just need to consciously change my focus, what I'm thinking about, change my language that I'm saying to myself and what it means, and the physiology. So it's simple.
Yeah. When I was living with Jarek, Tony's son, he got this from his dad too, and evolved it. It's like, we used to call nabbing it, just like nabbing the emotion. And so nab is NAB. What do I need to, notice? So it's NBA is what it would be, but notice, believe, or appreciate in this moment. Like if I noticed something different, if I believe something different, or appreciated something that I'm not focusing on, that really helps me too. So that's a great reminder. But it's the triad pattern. It's a pattern of focus. It's a pattern of meaning, a pattern in our physiology. What are the things that you do specifically? Yeah, some people, because when some people are stuck in that pattern, they eat a cheeseburger, watch some TV, and watch some porn or jerk off or do everything. It's like there's more resourceful things that we can do. What are some of these specific activities? Like, so you shift your triad, you shift your state. Like, what do you do specifically that allows you to do it?
Yeah, totally. So this is what I used to do when I was, building this habit or ritual, so to speak, is if I couldn't snap out in 5 minutes, if I couldn't do it, then I would go and have a cold shower. I'd just go and have a cold shower and I just force myself.
Yeah. Yeah. To break out of it. That's awesome, man. Let me ask you this. Is there anything that I want to respect your time. Is there anything that I've not asked you that I should have asked you that, about anything that you think could help the folks become more influential in their lives?
What a great question. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, one of the important aspects of success, if that's what you value, success meaning not necessarily more money, but it could be more time, more fun, more love, better relationships, is just having a very long-term perspective and timeline on what that is for you. And so quite often we live in this very quick demand world where people want things instantly, it's instant gratification, and we're losing sight of the long term, whether it's in your health, your relationship, or your business. And so having that long-term perspective not only allows you to become more successful because you make better decisions, but also it helps you manage your state because you're just constantly reframing yourself and saying, oh, well, in the big picture, in the grand scheme of things, it's actually not that bad. And so it helps you manage your state. And that's one thing that's really helped me and my students too.
Long-term thinking. I love it. Richmond, where can folks find out more about you, what you do? Of course, we'll put this in the show notes so people can have direct links, but where can they find you? Let us know. Yep.
2 places. Probably the easiest place is richmonddinh.com, richmonddinh.com.
Spell Din. Spell the Din for us.
Yeah, D-I-N-H. D-I-N-H. Right. Otherwise, you could look me up. If you're on Facebook, provided you're on Facebook, I know not everyone's on Facebook, but if you're on Facebook, you can look up my personal profile, Richmond Dinh, same name, and we can connect there.
Amazing. So yeah, again, we'll put that in the show notes. This is great. I got a couple of things I need to reassociate myself to as far as my own processes and be a little more dialed in with my own influence over myself and my own company. So thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you taking this time. And for everybody here listening, we'll see you again soon in the Everything is Influence podcast. Much love. Bye-bye.